This is what I mean between execution and artwork. This could easily have ended looking like some bad coffee bar in the 50s, right? And in fact, it looks real, it looks organic, and it looks, I think, spooky as hell. And again, Jerry just hit the underscore with such delicacy. It gives a sense of scale, architecture, and civilization. Not as we know it.
Come on down here, something different down here.
I always wanted to go back and make an Alien.
See if we can get up that wall. If we can get up that wall,
5 or 6. Where we find out where they came from and go there and answer the question, who are they? Mars is too close, so they can't be gods of war. But the theory was, in my head, was this was an aircraft carrier, a battle wagon of a civilization, and the eggs were a cargo, which were essentially weapons. So like a large form of bacteriological stroke biomechanoid warfare. Once again, you just cannot beat this score. It is great. And again, the set is pretty spectacular, really. John's beginning to condense up there. I think the old breathing apparatus ain't working too good. But actually, I like the condensation because once again, it gave you the idea that, you know, even then, everything doesn't work perfectly.
Fossilized. Looks like it's grown out of the chair.
The space jockey is, I've always thought, was the driver of the craft, who is now, after many ages, of course it would be dustless, but has started to look like a perfect example of Giger's mind, which is, where does biology end and technology begin? Because he seems to have grafted the creature into what essentially was, let's say, a pilot's seat. But clearly from here, this is where the transmission would emanate from, probably in an automatic transmission. So this creature obviously had experienced maybe one of the eggs had been disturbed, and a creature had got out, had attacked the rest of the crew. Don't ask me where they got to, but he's pretty gruesome. But let's say he was part of the civilization he came from and had now melded into his seat. I love this cut here. Dallas looks back at the cavernous head of the creature, and then you go back to the spaceship. Nothing.
What is it then?
They don't know what's going on.
I'm going to go out after them.
What's the point? I mean, but the time it takes to get there, they'll know if it's a warning or not, yes?
So now we have attention once again from Ash that will later pay off. We'll understand why he's in a predicament and what's going through his mind. At the moment, we just think he just doesn't like her. Probably because the idea would be that she's an overzealous officer.
You okay down there?
So, I don't know how many minutes we're in now, but nothing's happened yet. You don't have to start and rock and roll, you know. So he's being lowered into the hold, really. This would be argued as the hold in the ship. This is a combination of matte painting and hard set. I managed to get the use of laser beam, which I could spread in a thin blue sheet, which just about photographed. And underneath the laser, I'm releasing smoke gently, so that's why it's behaving like that on the surface as it hits the light, the sheet, as I call it, of the laser beam. This is a laser beam spread thin, like a thin sheet. But it worked great here, and I never thought it would photograph because it's pretty low key. But, you know, with the wizardry of Derek, we got it. So this is all just handheld, and lay the sound on as you go through the laser beam. You can hear it. There's a sound to the laser beam. You can hear it now. Like a seal.
There's a layer of mist just covering the eggs that reacts when broken.
I always thought of the laser beam as the placenta wall for the eggs. So now he's underneath. Now he's inside with them. Now it's interesting, we did the pickup on the egg later. And if you watch the egg closely on the close-up, you'll see that the liquid in it is going upwards, and the drops are going upwards, not downwards. We did that by turning the camera upside down, basically. And I always love this moment. This is great. There, you see the drops going upwards. So now he's triggered it. Inside there, that movement are my hands and a pair of rubber gloves. In a fiberglass, it's clear fiberglass, and they are hands in a rubber glove. There you go. Because, you know, I always believe you can do it physically, do it. You could just spend $100,000 on that movement. It's ridiculous. You don't need to. But that top opening is hydraulic, and that looks serious. If you put your hand there, you're going to lose it. Unfortunately, nothing looked right, so I would have somebody visit the meat market every morning, and they would come back with fresh meat, which was the lacework you see there's called Nottingham lace, which is basically the skin from the stomach of a cow, which when they pull it off in the slaughterhouse, you have this beautiful filigree of lace which is lining the stomach. So we laid that over the top, and then the thing that snaps up and hits him in the face is an intestine of a sheep, which has all been steamed cleaned and immaculate. Just put an airline on it and just went. I used to have rubber gloves on a white coat, and I had to dress it for every shot. I felt like a surgeon. And then the airline went on, and bang, and it, you know, works. I guess if you spend a lot of time together in space, the camaraderie will gradually disappear, and each person will become isolated with their own thoughts and their own memories of where they've been and where they're going to. And therefore, all of the characters are designed as not really being comrades. There's a kind of cold relationship amongst all of them. And an interesting point is that at the end of the film, Sigourney does the extraordinary thing of going back for a cat, where maybe her only real relationship on the spaceship is the cat. So Sigourney here, you see an officer wanting to go by the book, even countermanding the wishes of her captain. So she's now taking over, and she's being right to do so. If only they just stayed with it, there'd have been no problem. This always spooked the audience totally, with a very simple thing, that the tail of the facehugger tightens on the man's neck. That's my favorite reaction in the movie. My God. And there it is. Now that's just a rubber tail with a bit of line on it. We just pulled it tight.
What the hell is that?
How is he?
How are we gonna get that off him? How are we gonna get it off?
There was a cut scene, and we trimmed a scene where Veronica had a go at Sigourney, basically with words, as far as I can remember, saying, "You bitch, you're intending to keep us out there." And of course, Sigourney did absolutely the right thing by the book. She went absolutely by the book.
Finger.
And of course, here they are now in deep trouble, and they don't know it.
That's tearing his skull.
I know.
It's not human enough without tearing his face off with it.
We'll have to take a look at him inside. Right.
This particular set here, where Ron Cobb had done a lot of visuals of the interior of the Nostromo, and I would say this is one of the most realistic and beautiful pieces of technology I've seen, you know. Well, you know, I think the best technology ever presented probably was in 2001, Stanley Kubrick. And so it was very difficult because Stanley had done that, and it was and still is one of my favorite films. If I had to say, you know, what's your 20 favorite films, that would have to be in there. And therefore it was tricky not to get influenced by what he'd done. Of course, what he had done, I think, had worked closely with finding out what NASA speculative designs were or would be. So when you think about 2001 and you look at what's happening today, he's still ahead of the game, right? And so we had to avoid that at all costs, but inevitably, it's fair to say I was very much influenced by 2001.
I'm willing to take that chance. Let's cut it off and
You take responsibility.
Yes, I'll take the responsibility now. Get him out of here. Where do you want to do this?
I'm making a decision just below the knuckle there. Right here. Stand by. God.
Boy, that's effective. I forgot how effective that was. Now that's just polystyrene on a fairly potent acid, and it sure goes through there fast, but it looks like I thought was a great subtle way of saying that this thing is indestructible and has gone through metal. Burnt through a boot.
Take a look at this, man.
Yeah, it's interesting to note here that the full realization that there might be trouble here is that you get a sense that they are beginning to work together for the first time rather than being aggressive with each other and unreceptive.
It stopped. Don't say anything like that except molecular acid.
Must be using it for blood.
Bit of Irving the Explainer.
It's got a wonderful defense mechanism. You don't dare kill it.
What about Kane? Here's your pen, brother.
Nice humorous moment.
What do we do now?
Kane to Ash. You get
And of course Harry's up next.
Oh, what?
Here we are in the engine room.
Okay.
I liked a lot of the scissor arcs, which are usually used for lightning. So it's introducing a lot of familiar stuff, but in unfamiliar surroundings, like the CO2. This technology of this spacecraft doesn't stand too close scrutiny.
Well, the sooner we patch this thing up and get out of here, the sooner we can go home. This place gives me the creeps.